Good morning. We're going to talk about Grady Dick today. The rookie from the Toronto Raptors rookie is very much struggling through his first 12 games so far. A lot of people are ready to write him off. He is truly struggling. He's struggling from the field. He's struggling defensively. He's struggling with fouls. He's struggling across the board. And I would like to start today out with a little bit of a quick detour down memory lane. I want to take you back to the 2023 draft. I want to take you to my reaction, and I want to apologize. I want to apologize for overreacting. I want to apologize for just my reaction to this because I have come a long way in Grady Dick, and I'm going to take you through the analytics. I'm going to take you through his terrible 12-game season so far, and I'm going to tell you why it's not so bad. And I hope by the end of this live that you will have a clearer perspective on why young players like Grady might be struggling. And yeah, let's look at this. It's a minute. Just give me a second here. This is an apology.
Why you got Van Vliet's face?
NBA draft. The Toronto Raptors select Grady Dick.
Wow. That's your best hope, is that if Scotty can put him in the right situations just to shoot the hell out of the ball.
But I would be very hard pressed to believe, that Grady Dick ends up being a better player than Jordan Hawkins long term. David Griffin is a great general manager, just elite. Okay, they really understand the draft. They got Dyson last year. They got Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III. They do not do not fuck up in the draft. And them picking Jordan Hawkins to me is like as good a sign, if not a better sign, than Masai Ujiri picking Jordan Hawkins. I think this will come back as a mistake. You will not see an A grade for the Raptors for me for picking. Give this video a like for that elite thumbnail. I'll give myself a little bit of kudos for that. What I will not give myself kudos for is my draft grade on Grady. It wasn't that bad. I think I eventually adjusted and I gave him a B or something. Like the minute that draft went in, I realized I didn't see this coming. And I started to do a little bit more digging and more digging and more digging. And I promise I'm not one of those people that holds on to a bad take for very long. I'm not going to keep drumming it home when it's clear that I'm wrong. I had watched 5 games from Grady. I didn't think there was a chance in hell, A, that he would be available at our pick, or B, that we would pick him. I thought we were firmly going to go. And again, this is based on anecdotal evidence. I'm judging Masai Ujiri's entire career based to date, and he just keeps picking these long switchable wings and athletes, and I didn't see Grady as that. And I was wrong. On my draft board, I had him 19th. I had Jordan Hawkins 5th. So obviously when the Raptors came up to pick number 13, I was like, oh my God, Jordan Hawkins, Kobe Buffkin. I did not want us to draft Keontae George. Some of you did. And I think a lot of Raptor fans right now, 12 games in, are justifiably a little panicked because Jordan Hawkins has been good and Grady Dick has not been. So I want to take a look at the rookies so far. Some of the rookies, okay? Now, this is a little bit cherry picking, okay? I'm not showing you Asar Thompson, who's been great. I'm not showing you Kaysen Wallace, who's been amazing. I'm not showing you Derek Lively, who's been freaking awesome. I'm not showing you Victor Wembanyama, who's been pretty good. I'm not showing you Brandon Miller. None of those players were technically in our range. What I am showing you is Kobe Buffkin, Keontae George, 2 guys that we all, I think a lot of people wanted. Grady Dick, a guy who a lot of people wanted. Jett Howard, who was someone in that range. He was picked 11th to the Magic. He went 2 picks ahead of us. And then there's Jordan Hawkins and Scoot Henderson. What sticks out is that Grady is having a really, 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 really tough time. Okay. He is. He's not the only one. Obviously, Jett Howard is posting analytics that make Grady look like a frigging future Hall of Famer. And, Scoot Henderson has not been good so far, averaging 8 points, 4 assists, 4.5 assists on 37% shooting and 9% from 3 through 5 games. Grady is, compared to Jordan Hawkins, Grady has been horrible so far. So as the person who was super high on Jordan Hawkins, this might be a time that you're expecting me to come out and say, told you so. Nope, I'm not going to actually. What I learned about Grady Dick, in the days that would follow, actually the hours that followed the draft, because I got to talk to some really smart people that night itself and get their feedback. And what they said made me re-question. So I started watching more film, and the more film I watched, I was like, oh, that's what I missed. In the 5 games that I watched, I needed to watch this game and this game to see that. This is why scouting is so weird, because you have to be so thorough. You might catch a guy on an off night, and I clearly watched 5 of his worst 10 games of that year. So I want to take you through a reason why analytically you should not be panicking about Grady Dick, even though he has been horrible. And here's the thing. Let me show you his advanced box score. And I got to tell you, he's been awful, right? His last game was negative 31.4 in 10 minutes. It's hard to be that bad, right? It's really hard to be that bad. And this follows up a game in Dallas where he was in 6.5 minutes, negative 28.3 box plus minus. This follows up Milwaukee in 21 minutes where he was negative 21.4. This also follows up his rookie debut in 2 minutes and 5 minutes stretches where he was negative 16 and negative 16.4. And he has also Boston negative 11.5 and another game against Milwaukee in the last loss where he was negative 11.8. His best game to date was Philadelphia, the game where he, got 28 minutes of run and he was really positive. He was 3.9 box plus minus. So why should you be excited about a player who is posting on the season negative 9.8 box plus minus and is basically unplayable? Why should you be excited about a shooter who can't shoot? Why should you be excited about, a player who is, I'm not kidding. He's shooting 22% from 3. He's shooting 22% from 3. He's shooting 25% from 2. This is craziness, right? Per 100 possessions, he is averaging, these numbers are truly abysmal, right? 12.5 points, 3.4 assists, 4.9 rebounds, 3 turnovers, right? Assist to turnover ratio is like pretty much right in line. This is not a guy who handles the ball a ton. So having even this many turnovers, this many fouls, it is craziness, right? He's averaging nearly like 5.5 fouls per 100 possessions. He's been foul prone. He's struggled defensively. So far, it just sounds like I'm berating Grady Dick. Where is the optimism, Rob? Why should I not be, flooding the chat boards right now with Keontae George's him and all of this talk? Well, I think that for young players, especially those who are physically struggling, you need to really figure out why is a player struggling, right? There's a lot of reasons rookies struggle, a ton. Some have never really functioned as 5th options in their lives, 5th or 4th options. This is a huge adjustment curve. Some have never been away from home. They've never really been outside of a comfort zone. This can be a disruptive thing for young players, a lot of young players. I think this is most true for European players, where there's a massive culture shock. Some simply are not used to playing games so quickly, right? They're used to playing 1 game every week, maximum 2 games every week. So on a back-to-back, they're really going to struggle. They have no idea. They're not used to flying from place to place to place. Some really struggle with the strength and physicality. Some struggle with the speed. Some struggle with the skill. Like there's stuff that they were doing at a previous level, like a crossover, that now it's just getting picked off. Or they had a shot that they can get over off of anyone, and they've done it their whole lives. And now facing bigger, longer athletes, it's getting blocked. Shot's not fast enough. Shot release is not fast enough. So now the assistant coaches have to work with these guys and they have to put them in the D League, build up their confidence, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of reasons why young players struggle. Some struggle more than others, but I want to be clear about this, and I want to use this live as hopefully a way to adjust, because I suspect that maybe at least 1,000 to 2,000 people are going to watch this live at some point. I suspect a lot of you have some questions about whether or not Grady Dick was the right pick. So I hope that this live can be a cautionary tale in how we should not prejudge rookies too early. You can apply this pretty much across the board. So I'm going to rely on the comments here, and I hope that the 78 of you in here right now, sorry for this early morning impromptu live, but I wanted to get my thoughts out on this. Can you tell me who this player is? These are the first 20 games of a particular player. Can you tell me who this player is? Anyone? I'm very curious. HY saying Summer Helen. JOSP saying correct. This is Jermaine O'Neal. Oh, McCollum. That's funny. Because you saw Portland, you assumed McCollum. No, it's not McCollum. And if you look at the dates, it would give you the spooky Ghost Rider, Clyde Drexler. No, my man. Clyde Drexler was not around playing in 1996 as a rookie. So this is, but I appreciate all of the shout outs to all the Portland Trailblazers. This is Jermaine O'Neal, who came out of high school. These are his first 20 games, the ones that he actually got to play. He was coming off the bench. He was a physically raw, let's say physically underdeveloped player. You can look at negative 31.2 box plus minus, negative 25 box plus minus, then he had a 22 box plus minus, 15 box plus minus, then he had a negative 12.4, right? This is a guy who was on a stack team, right? I mean, 1996, I believe they already had Brian Grant. I believe they already had Rasheed Wallace. Like, I mean, this was tough times for Jermaine O'Neal to even crack rotation and get minutes, right? He's getting 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, 8 minutes here. And by the way, a lot of these minutes were, garbage time rotation, and they were not like rotation minutes. He was not getting minutes like Grady as part of the rotation necessarily. Like he was getting DMP CDs every so often. And yeah, there were a couple of games where, he got off the bench for a longer stint, 15 minutes, 23 minutes, like Grady. So I think the minutes distribution is very Grady-esque, and you're seeing a lot of really bad games. You're also seeing like 1 or 2 really good games. And, for Grady's sake, I hope that he has those as well very soon, but 12 games is very soon. Now, here's the big one. Who is this? I'm sorry, if you're on your phone, this is going to be really, really hard for you to see. But if you're on like a laptop or a computer, hopefully you can see this a little bit more clearly. Negative 12.1 box plus minus, negative 34.6 box plus minus, negative 9.6, 3.3, negative 4, negative 22, 32, negative 31, 14, negative 19, 10, negative 5, negative 19, 2, negative 19.4. Who do you think that is? Yes. It is Kobe Bryant. Okay. This is high schooler Kobe Bryant in his rookie season. He was getting 6 minutes, 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 17 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 14 minutes, 7 minutes, 20 minutes. Seems a lot like Grady Dick. Does it not? I mean, be real. If I told you this was Kobe Bryant's, like, you would pretty much be like, sure it is. It's very similar. I'll give you the clearest one. Actually, who is this? Oh wait, that's Grady Dick. Who's this? Negative 5.6, 9, negative 4, negative 5.3, negative 7.1, negative 2.4, negative 8.4, negative 6.7, negative 6.3, negative 4.1, negative 30.5, 4.7, 2.8, negative 33.8, negative 33.6. Oh my God. The first 14 games of this future MVP's life. Yes, correct. This is Dirk Nowitzki in 1999. A very, very skilled, but ultimately very culture shocked, very scrawny, very physically outmatched small forward. They started him at small forward. Please understand, Dirk was not banging around with centers. He started at small forward. I remember watching the first 20 games of Dirk Nowitzki's career and thinking he was the biggest bust in the history of busts. That's my honest opinion. When I watched it, I didn't get it. But around the 25 game mark, I think I watched a game where I was like, oh, this guy has a chance. One game. That's all it takes. One game. Grady's already had that game. Look, man, I'm going to tell you something that may surprise you. These negative 30 games are a really, really good indication for me. Okay. They're a really good indication. You have a player who is trying things that he physically cannot do right now. In the case of Kobe, in the case of Dirk, in the case of, and I don't want to compare Grady Dick necessarily here, but like the case of Jermaine O'Neal, the case of Kevin Garnett, when you look at these guys, honestly, they were not physically ready for the NBA. You could probably, I mean, I haven't looked at Tracy McGrady's, but I'm sure it's something very similar. There's a lot of variance. When you start talking about guys like Vince Carter who come out like gangbusters, you need to look at the physical development of a Vince Carter. You need to look at the game development. They were physically ready for the NBA. Grady is not physically ready for the NBA at all. They're throwing him out to the Wolves because they trust that he is the type of player who can take it. Okay. If they had determined based on all of, and look, I don't know this for sure, but organizations that I have had greater insight into do psychological profiling for rookies. They test, they know in their own way what the plan is throughout the year. We're going to put him out. We're going to make him start. He's going to struggle. He's going to fall apart. We're going to break his call. We're going to, if you have a really egotistical rookie, you're going to maybe put the ball in their hands in situations where you know they're going to fail so that they can become a little bit more humbled and a little bit more coachable. This is the game within the game thing that I described yesterday. But when it comes to development of a rookie, you have, ideally, if you're an organization worth its weight in salt, which the Raptors certainly are, even though I don't know necessarily, I don't know Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri and Dan Tolzman and their entire coaching staff. I don't know them. So I cannot say for sure this is exactly the plan for Grady. But I do know that competent organizations have always done it this way. They set out a plan for how they want this thing to grow over a 3 to 4 year period. And they have benchmarks. And all they're looking for is a realistic growth pattern for that particular player. They evaluate the player extremely. So if Grady was a 4-year senior and he was physically like ready, like a Keegan Murray was last year, and this was what he was doing, I think they would be very, very, whoa, this is weird. But I don't think that was ever the plan. Grady Dick is struggling for every reason under the sun that a rookie can possibly struggle. Okay. He has a target on his back. He was not a number 1 pick. He was not a number 2 pick, but he is a former Gatorade Player of the Year. He absolutely put the bullseye on himself at the draft by wearing what he wore, getting the energy that he got. You don't know how many role players there are in the NBA who have never been on ESPN as like a cover story. Grady Dick has been. What they see is a guy who needs to get humbled. What I see is a guy who has big dick energy. It's a really good thing for a young player to invite the bullseye. It's a great thing. Kobe invited the bullseye. What I didn't want to see in Grady's first, 10 games was -3, -2, -3, -2, +1, -3, -2, -2. It would have helped the Raptors, but I don't think that's what I wanted to see. What I wanted to see was a guy driving into Kristaps Porzingis and having no chance. What I wanted to see was a guy trying to draw a charge on Giannis Antetokounmpo. What I wanted to see was things that showed me that he is in fact who he looks like. And what he looks like is a player who will almost definitively be an all-star at some point. Why do I think this? Well, you saw my draft day reaction. My draft analysis board had his intangibles at 64. That's what I saw in the 5 games that I watched. I liked his IQ. I liked his shooting. Thought his athleticism was okay. Thought his upside was okay. Everything was okay. But I wondered about the intangibles. And this is why I preferred Jordan Hawkins. I got to tell you, since then, I've had a chance to watch at least 30 more Grady games. This is going back to high school, summer league. Now, I have, instead of a 5-game sample, I have a 35-game sample. In those 35 games, I think I have seen intangibles that instead of like 64, I would give 90 on the intangibles thing, right? I think that this guy has the potential to be like, I don't know, but first team, second team All NBA, certainly I'm not going to put that on him. I don't know if he has that. I don't think we'll know for a while. But I think soft all-star, 3-4 time all-star it should be the benchmark. It should be what you're expecting as a fan base. Obviously, right now, you don't know what any of these players are going to be. You don't know if Kobe Buffkin is struggling because, he's playing behind 2 all-stars. You don't know that. You don't know if Scoot Henderson is struggling because of an injury that we don't know about. You don't know if Grady Dick is struggling because he sucks, because he's soft, because he doesn't have work ethic or whatever. But I can tell you from everything that I've heard that this is not a player who struggles with confidence. This is not a player who struggles with work ethic. This is a player who puts in the reps at the gym. This is a player who takes his shot and tries to play his game. He's a supremely confident young player who right now is getting humbled by a league that is honestly just targeting him. I have seen a lot of, NBA players go at young players. I have. I saw them go at Kobe in his first year, and he got abused. I saw them go at Dirk because who is this European guy? Who the fuck does he think he is? Why is he a lottery pick? This happens. If you're a lottery pick who's not physically developed for the NBA, you're in trouble because you are making more money than Kelly Oubre and Patrick Beverly. You're making more money than these guys, and they're not happy about it. This is a very competitive league. This is a man's league, okay? It's one thing to go from high school where you're dominating to go to Kansas where you have to dominate against guys who are 2-3 years older than you. You'll struggle a little bit, but every time you go up a level, the pace of the game, the speed of the game, the size of the game is going to get bigger and bigger, and guys get flushed out, okay? There's certain guys, again, we brought it up the other day. We're talking about certain high school players, who are ranked number 1, number 2, and they go to college and they can't hang. Grady hung well at Kansas. He was fine. I think the disorientation of this offense, the disorganization of this offense, poor point guard play, there's a very good chance that you put him in Moses Moody's spot for Golden State. He's struggling, but he might just be just a little bit better than Moses Moody right now as a rookie. And Moses Moody is his 3rd year right now. And Moses Moody was picked 14th overall in a pretty good draft. So I like his playmaking, what I saw in Summer League, what I saw in the games that I watched, what I liked in high school about him. I think his athleticism is better than you think. I think his size and his abilities, this is the same argument that I made with Christian Koloko last year. Christian Koloko was physically outmatched, but his defensive instincts, his hand-eye coordination, his balance, his read and react, the way his mind was functioning. I think you have 2 very, very good players in Christian Koloko and Grady Dick. And one has not played for you yet, and one is struggling mightily. Give it a couple of years. Give it a couple of years with these guys. I think, provided, again, touch wood, that Christian Koloko can, get over whatever condition he has right now, the respiratory, condition. I feel so much better about these guys than I ever felt about guys like Precious Achiuwa, who are just athletic potential. Because, see, the athletic potential might one day turn into an unlocking of basketball IQ and instincts and feel and all these things that are so important. But sometimes it just never happens. It never happened for Stanley Johnson. It never happened for a lot of guys. There are a lot of guys that just James Wiseman. There's just a lot of, ironically, Precious Achiuwa played with James Wiseman in Memphis. Both players. It hasn't happened yet. They're still making mistakes. What I want to see from Grady is quarter samples. I will judge him at the 25 game mark, the 50 game mark, the 75 game mark. Then I will judge him again at his 100 game mark. And I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that the 100 game mark will be at least 5 times better than the 25 game mark. And if that does hold true, and if he continues to develop and he does not look shook and he does not look depressed, which I don't think he is, that's the thing, right? You do a psychological profile of this guy. Does he love the game? Yes, he does. Does he work hard? Yes, he does. Does he have a game that projects well on the NBA level? Does he do things that are actually valuable? Is he a switchable big? Is he a versatile defender? Is he stretch big? Does he have a player profile that actually projects as a valuable player profile? Yes, he does. He has one of the most valuable player profiles, which is he is incorrectly, in my opinion, considered sort of a standstill shooter or just a white guy who shoots. He is a versatile wing who can shoot as a movement shooter. The profile on these guys is huge. They are pretty much the most, and if you can get the playmaking up, they're like the most valuable player type. If you can, and I think most importantly, I think the thing that I like most about Grady is that he has Darko and Jama. I know Darko gets a lot of flack for what happened yesterday, but trust me, man, this guy understands development. He's worked with players like Grady his whole life, from youth level in Serbia all the way to Memphis to Phoenix. Like, this is his type of player. Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, Desmond Bane. This is his type. He may not have a ton of experience with, unicorn prospects like Scotty Barnes, but he certainly has a lot of experience with guys like Grady. So I say this to say, chill. I say this to say, we need to stop jumping on young players. They struggle for a myriad of reasons, most of which are things that are expected. And I haven't seen anything out of Grady that would make me move off of him. I hope you feel the same way. But if you don't, that's okay too. I'm not trying to force you to think one way or another. But what I will say is give it some time. Okay? Great. Any thoughts here? Okay, good. Okay, for the first time probably ever, we're going to keep a live under 30 minutes. Make sure to hit like, subscribe. Yesterday, I forgot to turn on monetization for the 4-hour live that we did. If you missed that live, I mean, honestly, watch the first 10 minutes. It gets way off topic towards the end. We're talking about politics. We're talking about all sorts of stuff. To anyone who misses some of those post game lives, feel free to scan, man. I will not be offended. It's not necessarily. It's made for the people who tune in. It really is. It's made for someone who can't sleep at 1 a.m. They just tune it on, and hopefully it's something that puts them to sleep. Yeah. Dick on the Celtics would have been praised so much. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's a commentary on the demographic of the Boston Celtics. Vince was lucky he had Oakley on the floor. Sure, yeah. I mean, again, like Leon Lights, this is what I've been trying to tell people: when you have faith in players' future, you sacrifice them now to let them develop them forward. Yeah, man. Like, I mean, look, let's not ignore the elephant in the room, right? If you're a European guy, you're a white guy, like your target, man. Your target. You're like, and especially when you wear this suit. Like, I in my first thought was, who does this guy think he is? That was my thought. I'm not an NBA player. My first thought was, who the hell does this guy think he is? And then you hear him talk, and you're like, oh, that's who he thinks he is. All right. Welcome to the initiation, my friend, because you are going to get abused every single night. Every time you see a vet, 8 years, 9 years, G League guy, role player, guy who had to fight his way, he's going to clobber you. He's going to kill you right now because they can. And this is a part of the NBA initiation process, man. Like, you got to understand, this is not soft shit. This is, guys are working for their paycheck, right? And you got this guy, and he comes in with all this hype. And trust me, you gotta humble it. This is, if you're a competitor and you see Grady Dick on the other side of the floor and he's looking at you, and you remember that draft thing, because I promise you, every NBA player in the league watched his draft. They all watched the draft, almost every single NBA player. And if they didn't see him, well, they definitely saw him later. So look, man, like you got to understand, like, this is not a player who is going to have it easy for the first little while. And personally, I think he welcomes it. I really do. I hope his teammates are absolutely killing him in practice. You know what I mean? Kevin Rio, sorry. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate it. Would you pick Dick over Kobe Buffkin or Jordan Hawkins? I really, really like Jordan Hawkins, but I have come to terms with the idea that Grady Dick is the better prospect. I don't know if he'll be a better player, but he's the better prospect. In theory, he's a better prospect. And I have not soured on Jordan at all. He has not shown me any reason to sour on him. And there's a very good chance that 3-4 years from now, we're looking at it, and Grady Dick is a 13, 14 point per game scorer, and Jordan Hawkins is a 27 point per game scorer. Certainly could happen. Could happen for any one of these guys, man. It could happen for Keontae George. I doubt it with Keontae. It could happen for Kobe Buffkin. You don't know. It's too early. look, between the ages of, I want to say 15 and 25, everything is building up in percentiles, right? So handle, scoring, shooting, physicality, right? Any one variable can sink the entire boat. Any one variable. You got to think of it like a boat, right? If I shred your sail, you're sunk. If I, put one hole, like, I mean, we're talking like, really, like, imagine what a boat weighs. And this is going to really expose my lack of knowledge of boats. But imagine what a boat weighs, right? Like, you could quite literally have like one pinhole or like a penny-sized hole in a boat that is, 16 tons, and it would sink the boat eventually, right? That's the thing. If your lateral quickness is not up to par, but your upper body strength is, you struggle as a defender. If your lateral quickness is up to par, but your physical, like, like upper body strength is not there, or your read and react stuff is not there, or things are happening too fast for you, you're going to struggle. There's a myriad of reasons why a rookie will struggle. I think Grady is struggling for all of those. I think he's not getting as much space as he would like. I think things are happening really fast for him. I think the physicality of it, I think he's being targeted. There's so many things. But yes, I think if I was being purely not a Jordan Hawkins homer, I think a smart general manager should draft Grady over Jordan. Hang on one second. I do want to give a quick shout out to one of our community members who has always been such an inspiration to me. And I'll end the live on this note. I don't know if he's watching this. I don't know if he's going to watch this. I suspect he might. But I want to give a big shout out to our legendary friend, Larry Kane, who at the age of, I don't know, he's over 55 for sure. I mean, he's an Olympian. Look at Larry Kane. I mean, if you want, I mean, that's in the world, man. 2023 ICF super, like the world championships. And this is for paddleboarding. And this is Larry in his element, man. I think some of you have seen Larry on this, and he was talking about finishing 7th. I think it was in the 10 kilometer or the 7 kilometer. I apologize, Larry, if I don't remember this. And then he placed 3rd in the 200 meter. And I mean, he's doing this against people who are like half his age, man. I mean, what an inspiration. I hope when I'm not even going to cap. What am I talking about? I'm 35 years old. I hope when I'm 36, I have the energy that Larry has at his age. I mean, he is a supreme athlete, and, he's a Canadian gold medalist for a reason, an Olympic gold medalist. And kudos and shout outs to Larry, man. You're an awesome member of this community. And if you end up watching this, appreciate you, man. Larry legend for sure. Grady should start. Yeah, I would start him. There's nothing to lose at this point. John Hamilton saying Hawkins is 2 years older than Grady, so he's more NBA ready, but his ceiling is lower than Grady. Just be patient. Yeah, absolutely. Jordan's a different type of player. Grady's a different type of player. They're going to struggle for different reasons. Jordan's not exactly having like some all-star season either. It's just the way people interpret numbers. If you genuinely look at like the numbers across the board, I mean, they're not that significantly different. You know what I mean? He's just gotten a ton more opportunity. He's gotten a ton more minutes. He's starting. He's had some big explosions. So if Grady Dick has a solid week, I mean, it's very easy to say he could be trumping, Jordan Hawkins analytics by next week. Measure it out over a few years. Don't panic yet. Anyways, thank you so much to everybody. And Jacob Isaac, my problem is we needed the production now. Weird pick in my opinion. You never pick a lottery pick for production now, man. You can't. I myself thought that this pick was a, like, oh, it fits now. And then I realized, actually, if they were as impulsive as I was, they would have picked Jordan Hawkins because he was more ready to contribute right away. Instead, they picked the guy who has like basically the physique of, a 15-year-old girl. And like, I'm just kidding. He's not that weak, but physically he's not an NBA player right now, right? I think everyone can see that. Everyone can kind of look at him and say, like, yes, this is a guy who's going to struggle against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But yeah, man, I see a lot of really good things in his future, and I hope that he does it. Cade, what's the pick for now, and how's that working out? I don't know. Chad B saying, appreciate the video. Still worried. Haha. Sure. Is the pick supposed to be a high ceiling pick? Yes. I think Grady's ceiling is very high. His abilities as a pick and roll ball handler, as they develop, being 6'8", his height is such a huge advantage as a playmaker, and to be able to shoot the way he's able to shoot. And again, he's holding water defensively. He's not good. He's not the worst defender in the NBA. He's just bad, right? Like, if I were to rank him out among defenders who are role players, I would say he's about a 25th percentile defender right now. With his physique, that to me projects that in his peak, he will be like a 55th percentile defender. That's more than decent. It's more than decent. He will probably be a better defender than Gary Trent Jr. in his prime. I'm almost positive of that. So, yeah, again, size. You can't teach size. You have size here. This is definitely a long-term pick. As his body develops, as his physique develops, as his game develops, I think you could see rapid acceleration. Don't be surprised by his third year if he's averaging like 22 points per game. It could happen like that. Okay. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And please, please, please like this video on your way out. I'd really appreciate it. Who would I compare him defensively to right now? I don't know. I can't think of something off the tongue. Good eye. Why haven't you posted the show on iTunes podcast? Honestly, A, laziness. B, I don't want to split the audience, but you're right. At some point, I will have to do it. I've been thinking about doing it for like half a year now. I got to just do it. So I will consider that. For now, yeah. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good one. You should decorate that door behind you with Raptors art. That's a really good idea. We'll definitely consider it. You're right. That's a great idea. Thank you so much for that. RIP D Rose. That's a really good idea. I'm gonna do that. Okay, take care, guys. See ya.